and I worked for the Forker Group this past semester, starting actually in late July. The Forker Group is a small consulting company in Erie. They have about 25 employees, and the Forker Group was originally started in 1993 as an outgrowth of what Russell Forker did. He was basically a reseller of original equipment for IBM, DEC, Compaq, and Sun Microsystems. And a lot of these companies started to close their local offices. DEC and IBM both did in the early 90s, so he started to offer consulting as well as resale. And their mission is representing the Erie customers in technology acquisitions. My manager is Matthew Lechner, who joined the company in the late 90s. He's a fairly young man and a great person to work with. My goals that I started with, we sat down and established some goals, Matthew and I. One of the primary ones that I did is I wanted to learn as much as I could from the Unix team at GE. GE outsources a lot of their Unix system administration to the Forker Group. And there's a team at GE that does all of this work. Right now it's only 2 people, but it used to be as many as 5. And my original contact was made because a friend of mine gave them my name as someone that knew a reasonable amount about Unix and system administration. And I received a call one day, and it was Matthew Lechner, and he said, "Are you really the Unix master?" And I said, "Well, not really, but I know enough about it." And we had an interview. And after that, I didn't get the job, unfortunately, that position, because it was a full-time position and he didn't realize I was a student. But I think he enjoyed meeting, and I think he liked me enough that he said, "Well, stay in touch, because I'm sure we'll have something to offer you in the next few weeks." And that's when we set up this internship. And one of the best things about this internship was it wasn't only about the financial compensation. They were paying me for services that I were doing. They were also interested in really, letting me get as much experience as I could and working on several different projects, which I did. I mean, I'll go through some of them. My second goal was learning as much about the operation as possible. Like I said, they're a small consulting company, and I've known that I've wanted to go into consulting for the past few years. And I think it was a great organization to be around and to work for. And finally, I wanted to come away with greater confidence in my own technical abilities as I'm graduating here in December. The first project I worked on, and this was actually the most immediate need they had for me, was the e-business help desk at GE Transportation Systems in Building 9. It's basically a telephone technical support help desk for a lot of their online applications. Shalin talked about one. Others are TransshopNet, Customer Web Centers, Supplier Extranet. There's really a variety of them, and there's a very large user base that they support. Obviously, anyone that's ever worked in telephone technical support can tell you it's a challenge. Fixing a computer through a telephone is like fixing a computer with a blindfold on and having someone else do the work for you. It's very challenging, but it's funny at the same time, because you get a lot of random calls from people that shouldn't be calling the line. Someone that needs sales information, or my monitor's not working, or you've all heard the stories, I'm sure. I've already said it's the first line of defense for web applications at GE Transportation Systems. One of the big things when I was there is a new barcode initiative that they were doing that was for the Supplier Extranet. A supplier would log in online and download information so that they could barcode any shipments they were making to GE Transportation Systems. And it was just kind of coming up and running, so a lot of the stuff that I had to do related to that. The second project I worked on wasn't at GE, but was actually at Forker. They have these handheld computers, the Compaq iPAQ 3600 series, and they really weren't using them. I mean, they got them for free or for pretty substantial discount because they're a compact reseller. And they wanted to know what they could do with them. So basically I spent some time researching the product and what it had to offer. One of the biggest challenges that I face is that they use a PIM, a Personal Information Manager system called ACT. It's kind of like Outlook, where you can do contact management, date book, and the iPack runs the Microsoft Pocket PC operating system, which will only sync to Microsoft products and not this ACT database. So I had to find a way around this stumbling block, and I found a middleware application called Companion Link that basically it linked ACT to Outlook. So it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but it did the job. The third project I worked on was back at GE in Building 9 again. The GE Transportation Systems does all of the purchasing and support for the Sun Microsystems Unix machines that a lot of the engineers and CAD developers use at GE. There's about 200 or so Unix machines there, and Forker Group has the support for both the desktop and the server side. So they got 12 new Sunblade 1000s, and the way that Sunblades work is there's a base configuration, and then if you order, which would be like one processor, a certain amount of memory, a certain amount of hard drive space, if you order anything beyond that, you have to install it yourself. So there were 12 of these machines that all had the maximum configuration, so there was a lot of hardware to install. There was an additional processor, additional 1 gigabyte of RAM, additional hard drive, and a DVD-ROM drive. And the first thing I learned, I figured a PC is a PC is a PC. This is a workstation. It's a $13,000 Sun machine that, it's just mammoth. It's a huge machine. And it made me a little bit nervous when I found out that each one was worth about 13 grand. But it was definitely a learning experience working with Sun hardware. I've done a lot with PC hardware, but working with Sun, the Sun box stuff was really interesting. The first step was the hardware configuration, which I've already told you about. I took all 12 machines, opened them up, installed the extra RAM, the extra processor, the extra hard drive, the DVD drive. Second step was the software configuration. Obviously, we're not going to go on all 12 machines and configure the operating system and all the applications exactly how GE wants it. So what we did was we did one machine, configured it, the application software and the operating system exactly how GE wanted it, and then we ran a script that I'm going to show you in just a segment of it in just a little bit that basically replicated the drive across all of these different machines. And the third step, which was the hardest step when you considered that this machine weighs about 50 pounds and then there's a 20-inch monitor to go with it, was to deploy these machines across the GE plant. So that was actually, although technically was the easiest part, physically it was the hardest part. This is a little bit of the cloning bash script. Basically, it's like a batch script under DOS. Each line can be run. It's run as one thing.